And welcome. Wait. Hold on, why is it not?
Why don't you enlarge your spiritual life?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Enlarging the picture.
Oh, that?
Mm-hmm. Can you enlarge it?
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Pej's Recovery Corner. Guess what I'm with today? I'm with the lovely AJ Sanders.
Hello.
Welcome to the corner.
Thank you.
I've been
I'm
wanting
happy
to
to
have
be
you on
here.
here for a while now.
Well, I've been a little jealous of you picking everybody else over me. I'm like, now when is going to be my turn? So I'm glad to be here. Yay.
Well,
I am here.
there's a reason for that because I didn't really know if you wanted to talk about recovery, but I think we're good. We're clear, right?
Why not though?
Right?
Why wouldn't I want to talk about recovery? I think everybody's recovering from something.
That's right.
At least they should be.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, let's do a breakdown real quick. So, where
Okay.
were you born?
Oh, we're going there. Okay.
Yeah, where were you born?
I was born in Dallas.
You were born in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. I'm a Texas girl.
Wikipedia is wrong. They said you were born in Jersey.
I know. My grandmother, who actually died of alcoholism, she lived in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, and I don't know how maybe they just sort of got the information or heard it wrong or whatever, but
They assumed
that but my grandmother lived in Trenton, New Jersey for a while, then she lived in Lakewood and Toms River.
Okay. And
yeah.
So, so you were born in Dallas.
Born in Dallas, Texas.
And raised in Dallas?
Born and raised in Dallas, all the way up until I was 17 years old, and I moved out to LA when I was 17, straight out of high school.
And then when you were growing up in Dallas, like what kind of an area was it?
Shout out to all of my peeps that I went to HHS with, Hillcrest High School, Panther Power. So it was a predominantly, originally it was a Jewish high school until they bused a lot of other kids from the hood to the school, and so I pretty much lived in that particular area, and it was multiracial but predominantly like Jewish.
Okay.
And so I celebrated all of the Jewish holidays with everybody, the Yom Kippur and the Rosh Hashanah, and
So you're very aware of that particular religion.
I am. I am. Yeah.
My house is actually in a very, very Jewish neighborhood in Los Angeles, and I have a lot of fun in my neighborhood. A lot.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I love it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because
I would not be sarcastic.
I loved my neighborhood too.
I love it. It truly is like you see a lot of culture, a lot of people that you hear through when I open my windows, I can hear people dancing and singing.
Yeah,
they're always going to some kind of religious practice.
Yeah,
there's a lot of I think they go to read the book of Hebrew and all that, but it's really a cool area. But so growing up in Texas, obviously, I mean, some people know and some people may not know. You later on, when you came out to LA, you were on a TV show. But before that, growing up, did you ever think that you were going to go into that type of field? Is that what your goal was?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were in high school, was this idea already there?
Yes.
And were you in drama classes?
Not in high school, but I went to my middle school. I went to an arts academy. It was called W.E. Griner Exploratory Arts Academy, and that was in Oak Cliff, which was way across the tracks from where I lived. So I'd have to catch the city bus. I'd have to catch 2 city buses to get to school and 2 city buses back.
So you grew up knowing, like, I want to be, I'm talented. I'm going to be doing this.
Yes.
Good. And then, did you like Shakespeare?
What?
Yeah. Did you?
I don't know. I don't really know. I wasn't really familiar with them
because I was in drama in high school, and I loved doing like Hamlet and things like that.
So, so originally I wanted to be a dancer.
Okay.
So when I was in middle school, we did a lot of dance theaters, and I didn't do a lot of acting. I didn't do any acting, dramatic classes or anything like that. I was in the marching band, and I was in the concert band, and I was in the jazz band, and then I was also in dance. Right. So I loved music, and I loved to move to music. And so that's what I thought I was going to do when I came to LA.
Right.
I thought I was going to be this, this multifaceted triple threat dancer. I wanted to be like Debbie Allen. I literally wanted to be like Debbie Allen. And so especially after watching Fame, I was like, okay, so I gotta, and so I was plotting the whole time in high school. I was like, okay, if I can just find her dress and I can just, audition like on her front lawn or something, she'll be wowed by me, and she'll put me on Fame. Well, doesn't quite happen that way and doesn't
Mhm.
work like that.
Right.
I found out very quickly. But so during the time that I was auditioning, doing dance auditions, I injured my feet
Mhm.
and I couldn't dance anymore.
So fame was definitely an inspiration for you. I think it was inspiration
Yes,
for all of us.
well. So the first time I watched it was at the theater,
Right.
and I fell in love with Leroy.
That was lovely. Boy.
Ooh,
So good. So good.
love me some Leroy.
Yeah.
So that I ended up dating a dude named Leroy too, but that's a whole nother story. He was not a dancer at all,
Right.
by the way. But no, he inspired me, and I watched Debbie, and I really wanted to work with her, and but that dream had died once I injured my feet, and so I sort of fell into stand-up comedy.
This is still in Texas?
No, this is all in LA.
Okay, later.
So like 17 years old, I go to LA right after high school.
Before you came to LA, had you ever experimented? Were you partying? Were you partying in school or anything like that?
No, I think one time my friend and we were at a party, and I think I tried nitrous once. Once, yeah. My friend Matt had convinced
like
me
a
to
whip
just.
It?
Yeah, it was like that because a mutual friend his father was a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with a lot of people
Yes.
who were very affluent.
Uh-huh.
And so this guy's, I don't even know who it was, but he had this, the laughing gas in the back of his car.
Oh yeah.
And so it was
the tank.
He brought a tank home from his dad's office, who was a dentist. And so we just, took a little whiff, and then we just laughed, and I thought, oh my God, that was crazy. And that was that's the only thing I had
That's
done
all you remember
in high
from
school.
Okay, so 17, were you already done with high school? Like you already graduated?
Yeah.
I knew you were a smarty pants.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll take it.
So you ended up in LA, and you had these goals and dreams and aspirations to be in Hollywood. Then what happened?
Well, first of all, I wanted to go to UCLA. That was my dream. I wanted to attend UCLA. My father had lived in Westwood, Century City, so it was not too far from Westwood.
Right there.
And so I went to go live with my dad, and I was like, okay, I'm right there. I'm right close to Westwood. And so I wanted to go to UCLA, and turned out he couldn't afford it.
Right.
And that was because of a bet that he made and lost. And so he couldn't afford. So I ended up going to Santa Monica College.
I know Santa Monica College all too well.
Samo.
Yep.
And
SMC.
I went to SMC, got into the dance program there, and
where were you living during that time?
With my dad.
Which was what city?
Century City.
Oh, so you were in Century City at that time. Okay.
Yeah, it was right across from the West Side Pavilion.
Oh yeah, which is now being revamped.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
That was my jam a long time ago.
Love that mall.
But anyway, but 8 months later, I got kicked out of the house because my dad and I got into an argument, and then I had to move out with my friend that I was in the dance class with, and she lived Crenshaw and Rodeo.
This was the mid 80s?
This was 1985. Yeah, 1986. Yep.
Okay, so then Crenshaw and Rodeo, I know that area.
It's now called Obama, but yeah, Crenshaw and that street.
It did get its name changed.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I still call it Crenshaw and Rodeo. But anyway, so I lived over there with her for almost a year, and I had a job, went to school.
What were you doing for work? Just regular?
I was working at like the Coffee Emporium, and then there was a jewelry store next door to that. I started working at the jewelry store.
And you were going all the way down to SMC for school?
Yeah.
And back then there wasn't like all this. There was traffic, but it wasn't like it is now, where it would take like 45 minutes to get from there to SMC. Right?
No, very. But then, so the young lady that Angela Santiago, shout out to Angela Santiago, hey girl. We are still really good friends to this day, and we were like sisters. Her parents were like, okay, you get to live with us, and you got to feed the dog on Wednesday, and go to church on Sunday, and make sure you go to school every day, and clean up after yourself. It was just, I was part of the family. And that turned out to be a blessing, because that's where the first comedy club I'd ever gone to was right down the street on Crenshaw and 43rd and Crenshaw. Yeah.
Well, that was the comedy club?
Yeah, it was called the Regency West. It's still there, and it's 43rd and Crenshaw, and that's where the comedy theater was. Yeah. So that's where I met Robin Harris, who became my mentor.
Mhm.
And then he just brought Hollywood to the hood pretty much
Nice.
because they started coming down because he was so great. His agent became friends with all of us. And then his agent introduced me to my first agent. It's just this whole like full circle moment. And so the lady from NBC, Shayna Landsberg, came down and said, "Hey, come to my office." And I had to meet with her, met with her.
Mhm.
And I wasn't quite ready. She said I wasn't ready for to be on television just yet. I needed some classes.
Mhm.
So I took some classes and I took her direction. And
But you were still driven and wanting to do something with yourself. You knew.
Oh yeah.
You had a plan.
Yeah, but it was interesting how God really was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself because I had no sense of direction.
Mhm.
I had no idea like how to go about doing anything.
Right.
It all just I was sort of guided. I was, going to this comedy club.
Right.
I was meeting all these different people and I saw all of these, I witnessed all this great like Sinbad and Martin Lawrence and Tommy Davidson and
those are legends.
And Marsha Warfield came down
Right.
once and I was just blown away. Myra J. and
Mhm.
Stacey McLean and William like all these really wonderful, extraordinary, Ricky Harris, Louis Dix. I mean, I was just looking up to all these people. D.L. Hughley was one of those guys too. And so I was just in awe of everybody. And
Right.
so it was a masterclass every Thursday and Friday night. And, especially when like Damon Wayans would come down and he was just beyond brilliant. It was
Right.
So I just took notes.
They're just naturals.
Well, they're naturally gifted,
Mhm.
And they really, really knew how to perform and work the magic on the audience, man. I mean, he would put us under a spell.
Right.
Mhm.
I love that. So during that time, life was still manageable. You were managing between the job and going to school.
Yeah, I hadn't really started drinking or anything yet because I was so focused, and I still was the good girl that my mother raised,
Mhm.
and every now and then I would hang out at the bar at the club, and then the bartender would give me a 7 and 7.
What club?
And I had
At
no
that
idea
club?
at that club.
the Regis.
So I was like, I don't even know what a 7 and 7 is, but it sounds good. He was like, well, it's Seagram 7 and 7 Up or something. I was like, oh, I like 7 Up.
It sounds enticing. I used to hear that. I was like, let's try the 7 and 7.
So the guy said it's like a wine cooler, and I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing.
Yeah.
So I would take but I mean, that was the extent of it then. And then this one comedian and I hung out once, and that was the first time I had smoked weed, and I was like, because I didn't like the way that alcohol made me feel, because I felt bloated and I didn't like the taste of it. And it felt like it just took too long to get there, wherever there was. And so when I started smoking weed, I was like, okay. Because it made me feel pretty enough and skinny and funny and charming and all those things that thought I wanted to be.
Mhm.
Weed made me feel like that.
Mm.
And so, that was the first and last time I ever felt like that. Because after that, I wanted to feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
But I couldn't feel like that all the time, like the first time. So I was constantly chasing, and then I smoked so much weed that it wasn't effective anymore.
Right. You built a tolerance.
I built a very strong tolerance for weed. Mm-hmm. So then, about 9 years later, I was like, I need to pour some alcohol on this. So
there we go.
Mix this up,
But okay, so in the mid '80s, you were on a different world. You played.
No, I wasn't on there until 1990.
Oh, that was in the 90s.
Yeah, it was early 90s. I want to say 91.
Because the Cosby Show came first, and that was a spinoff of a different world. Was a spinoff of that.
Yeah.
So before that, were you getting parts or anything like that through the agent? That you
So the first agent I got was a commercial agent.
Okay.
And so I was doing
jingles.
I was doing commercials, and that. I mean, it was amazing.
Were you making any kind of living from that too?
My God, that was the most money I'd ever seen ever.
Really?
I had never seen.
So between that job at the Emporium, is that what it was called?
The Coffee Emporium,
and school, and now you got this other side gig.
Well, no, let's go back. So I was working at the Coffee Emporium, and then I was working at the jewelry store, and then I worked at Aunt Kizzy's back porch.
You're a
soul
hustler.
Food. What?
Yes,
I am.
My type of woman.
Yeah. that's also that's what Beyonce says, a diva ain't nothing but a female hustler.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. So anyway, So I worked at 3 jobs, going to school and learning how to do stand up, all before the age of 20.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So by the time I got to the comedy club and started learning how to do stand up, and I became Robin Harris's opening act, I had to make a decision at one point. I think I had when I just got my AA degree. Isn't that funny?
AA degree.
I got my AA degree in at SMC, and then I came on and just started doing comedy full time. And and I thought, oh well, I guess I don't need to go to UCLA now because I'm sort of learning everything. About I'm living.
You're getting to where you need to.
I'm getting the education I really need. So that's
when you were doing when you were an opening act or just doing stand up in the beginning. Was it well received?
No.
Was it not? Did it mess with your emotions?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. Like I didn't even know I was supposed to be funny because I thought, well, I'm just the opening act. I'm just opening the show.
Right.
So I didn't think that was expected of me until Robin brought it to my attention. No.
Oh, you were just trying to wing it.
No, people were like, no one laughed. No one was entertained. I was really nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I mean, I was so nervous and scared all the time. And then the owner, Michael Williams, kept saying, well, just come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. I had no idea that he was helping me. And I didn't know that I had no idea how to even, that comedy was a craft until Robin Harris brought it to my attention. He goes, listen, you got good stage presence. Now you just need some material. So I thought, well, how do I do that? And so he was like, I'll show you how to write. So all these people that I mentioned before, they taught me how to write. They taught me what material was. They showed me how to identify what funny was. And so that's how I learned. And shoot, like maybe a year and a half later, I'm on Def Comedy Jam.
Yes.
Okay.
That was it.
So I got that going. And so at the same time I got Def Comedy Jam is when I booked A Different World. And so
like they recognized you from Def Comedy Jam and zeroed in, or what?
No, it was just 2 different experiences. I mean, I was over here auditioning for this thing, and then since I'm a comedian, I'm also over here doing this thing. So and what's interesting is that A Different World aired that Thursday, and then the following Sunday was my debut of Def Comedy Jam. It all happened in the same week.
You were killing it.
I know, crushing it. And so then after that is when people like Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence and all these guys asked me to go on the road with them. So the whole summer I'm traveling on the road.
You were hanging out with legends.
And then A Different World.
Because you are a legend.
Well, listen, I was legendary at something, that was for sure. But wait, and then at the same time, A Different World had kept calling me back to be a reoccurring. And then the following season, they called me back again to be a regular. So what was...
Oh, before in the beginning, were you just on certain episodes?
It's called Under Fiver. It's when you have under 5 lines.
Okay.
So, but mind you, that's still more than what I was doing before because
it's a show.
I'm on TV.
You're on
so
TV.
I didn't care. So even if I was like just
nationally syndicated, if not,
if I had one word, I was like, I'm gonna work that word.
That's right.
And make sure that they don't cut it out.
Your character on the show was Gina
Deveaux.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I watched A Different World. I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved it.
I never watched it because I felt like, you know what? I did it. I know what's going to happen and on to the next thing. But I was on a whirlwind, was I was going to say. So the fact that I was working on the show, I did Def Jam, and I'm on the road. And then so I'd work for 4 days a week, and then I'd travel for the weekend. And so I was constantly going. And the more I worked, the more the hole inside of me kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You know what I mean?
Why?
Because I didn't know why then, but I was suffering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And I was restless, irritable, and discontent all the time. I didn't feel like I was
strange though. Like you think with all that going on, you think this would fill up a person, but instead it was doing
the exact opposite. The more successful I became, the more fraudulent I felt.
Why?
I don't know.
I gotta know.
I don't know. That's just what it felt like. I felt like, oh my God, they're gonna find out. And I was in fear all the time, and plus I was young, and this was the first time I had done anything. And
this early 20s, right?
I'm literally like 22, 20, right. 21, 22.
It's scary. It's got to be really scary to be out in the world doing that with a lot of people that are very famous, or they were well on their way, and we were nationally traveling.
And globally.
And globally.
Mm-hmm.
And on the road, was there people partying?
So I don't know. And to be fair, so female comedians don't get the same groupies as male comedians.
Mm-hmm.
So all the attention went to the headliners. All the attention went to the Chris Rocks and the Martins and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went to my hotel room, and by that time I just roll something up, smoke it up, chill, order room service, and I'm good.
That'll fill the hole for
That'll fill the hole for a couple hours. At least it'll make you go to sleep.
Yes, yes.
And I was sleeping really well.
Right.
But then, then off to the next city,
Mm.
and so I was always very nervous. I was always very anxious because I didn't want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of failure. And so I was always constantly going back to my room, beating myself up over one joke that didn't work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to get that right. And I'm, just constantly trying to work and get better and better all the time. But it was fear-based.
It's really interesting that you bring that up because, obviously you already know that I'm the biggest Prince fan in the world, right?
You?
And ever since he passed away, I've been reading a lot of different people.
Purple.
I absolutely do. You'll see the car.
Yeah.
So I've been reading different people's biographies that they weren't allowed to write about their experiences before, like they wrote off the NDA or whatever. But now that he passed away, I'm reading all these separate people and people that were like closest to him in his band that were on tour with him. When you saw them on their stage presence, looks like okay, they're mechanically doing what they're supposed to be doing every single night, and they look happy, But when you read like the emotions and the feelings that they were having in their early 20s on the road, there's got to be a lot going on there. Like it's not what the average human being.
There's a whole lot going on, and I tell you, I can absolutely relate. And there are times when I see people on the red carpet, I go, You can see,
like you look nervous.
I can see what's behind the eyes.
Oh yeah.
Because I've had that same look.
Right.
I've had that same feeling. So, and people assume that you're happy when you're performing.
Right.
And in one sense, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're sort of in that safety zone, in that bubble where we're kind of feel safe and this is what's expected of us and we're good at it, so we're going to do it.
Right.
But then once the light goes out, then real life has to take place, and that's where the scary part comes. Like I don't know what to do with myself now that I don't have a mic in my hand, or no one's telling me who to be, and no one's telling me what to do, and I don't have any lines to read.
Right.
So those are the moments that are the scariest because I don't know how to grocery shop. I don't know what to do. I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, being so young, I didn't have that experience previously.
Mm-hmm.
So all I knew was just to work hard and strive to be great. So
after you were on the road, did you have more of a regular role on A Different World? Did it go from being five lines to?
I became a regular in the 6th season.
On the 6th season.
Yeah.
How many seasons?
I was still on the road though. I was still on the road on the weekends.
Even then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I would work on A Different World during the week, and then on the weekends I would travel and go to a different city and make people laugh, and then come back on Monday.
You were busy.
Mm-hmm.
You were very busy
all the time. Yep.
And life was unmanageable, or the inside was unmanageable, or was it?
The inside was frightened all the time, and I was always very nervous, and I just didn't want to get anything wrong.
What was your mom during that time?
My mom was living in Texas.
Oh, so she stayed out there,
and she was proud, and she just thought that everything was going on, and her baby had made it, but she didn't understand that I was dying inside, but I was hiding it really well. I'd smile and look pretty and shop.
I'm happy that you're talking about this too, because all the glitters ain't gold. It may, if you when you say the words "I'm dying inside," that's some serious, a lot's going on there, and so obviously at this point when you had become a regular on the show and all that, Hollywood parties, were you doing all those? Were you hanging around with lots of celebrities and there was a lot going on?
Sometimes. I mean, a lot of times I really would just isolate. Every now and then I'd hit the Roxbury.
Right. I
every now, what I'm saying? Like every now and then I would hit some spots, but I really wouldn't.
That was on Sunset.
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes I'd, hit a comedy club and try to see who's performed. But I was exhausted from the road a lot of the times, and most times I just stayed home. And it was a really lonely place because I didn't really have that experience of dating.
Right.
So, I tried to date, but they called it hooking up.
Yeah.
I just
there wasn't no Tinder. You just hook it up.
we just, hey, what you doing?
Yeah.
Come on over. What you got?
Yeah.
Bring some. And bring some for yourself.
Right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
right. That's pretty much what it was about. Or if I saw somebody, I'd be like, "What's up? Okay, let's head back." And then I tried to be in relationships, but it was really difficult because I was never around.
So then the partying was just at your house, like mostly by yourself?
Party of one. Mostly, yeah. And then every now and then, I love sports too, right? So I'd have a couple of friends come over, smoke out and watch, the NBA games, things like that. So that would be fun. But most times I was by myself.
Okay, then in that case, when did you know it had become a problem?
When I knew it was a problem when I wanted to stop and I couldn't. When you hear.
Would you tell yourself I'm going to quit after on Sunday?
Yeah. I would set goals. Yeah. I'd make deals with God and be like, God, I need to stop this, or I would go, okay, I'm going to just clean house. I'm going to get rid of everything. I'm going to clean my house from top to bottom. Right. And I'm going to, you set all or New Year's resolutions. I mean, everybody's done that where you go, okay, I'm just going to just start fresh and I'd be good for about, 20, 30 minutes.
That long.
And then, and then I would maybe be proud of myself after I'd finished everything and be like, all right, this looks good. Mm-hmm. Now what? And then, that'd go back to, but then I would go to the hot springs a lot too. I would go to the spa, like going to LA and I would always, detox myself and go, okay, after I leave the spa, I'm going to really
get them on the pour. Pour it out.
Clean myself up, and it just wouldn't work. And so I found myself in peculiar situations, sometimes with lower companions.
Mm-hmm. And then finally you just made a decision, you got to pull the trigger and change your life.
No, it wasn't that. It was a situation where I was invited to a fight party, mm-hmm. and this was around 99, and I was invited to a fight party, the Oscar De La Hoya and Trinidad fight.
Right.
And a friend of mine invited me over, and that was the first time in a very long time that I had said yes to an invitation. And I went to his house and promised myself I wouldn't drink, and I did. And I ended up across town in a hotel with a person that I met at his house. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment I was like, well, first of all, I think I was so afraid. I was so scared that I didn't remember what happened. And I thought, this guy could have killed, anything could have happened.
Right.
And I thought I would have never known. And oh my God, what will they tell my mother?
Right.
What will the story be?
Very risky situation.
And I was so arrogant. My arrogance was still there. I was like, damn, and I won't be able to defend myself because I'll probably get the story wrong.
Yeah.
So I just thought I gotta do something. This is, and I was just demoralized. I was embarrassed. And not only that, I was embarrassed because the guy that I woke up next to was also a team member of somebody that I had dated previously. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh my God, they're going to talk and gossip about me. Like it's all about me. Right.
Right.
And, but I felt like I had broken the diva rule. You don't do more than one per league. Mm. You know what I mean? You do one NBA, one NFL, one MLB. You know what I mean? You don't cross talk.
Right. Don't mix it up.
Don't mix it up. And so I mixed it up, and I was like, ah. Right. So so I was like, I really need to figure this out. So that was the day.
And how old were you?
I was 31.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it's been 22 years.
That's awesome. You made an absolute decision to change your life.
I did. You have to decide. You have to make a decision. And it has to be a decision for you and not for anybody else. Mm-hmm. And you can't do it for your kids or your husband or save your marriage or whatever, to get your career back. And I honestly thought, okay, I'm going to get sober and I'm going to, pull up my bootstraps and get back out there and hit it again. But the life that I have been gifted mm-hmm. is so tremendously amazing. And I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything.
Right.
But it is so much better than I thought it was going to be, that I have found a sufficient substitute, that I'm no longer desperately seeking outside stuff. I'm no longer seeking fame and fortune and, all of those things that I did before. My value system has just changed. The quality of my life.
It's a very important thing.
Yeah. I realized, sticking around long enough, I thought, I didn't realize that I was so attached to things.
Right.
And materialism. I was so attached to looking
that's
good.
That's that
and
third dimensional living.
Yes, it is.
And now we are in the fourth.
We are living in the fourth dimension, man. Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that just gave me chills. But that's true. I no longer am seeking the outside stuff. And what's interesting is everything that I've ever wanted comes to me easier now.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
No, I understand it all too. And the reason I understand, well, let me say this. All right. So for one, obviously 22 years now.
Yes.
Say, right? I'm going to be 14 in a couple weeks.
I know.
And the way that I met you is obviously in a certain area at a certain time.
Yeah.
Where certain people like us that are on this certain path.
Sure.
Like to meet.
Right.
Now, when I was brand new and I would see you, I want you to know, like, I've told you this before, but there was a few people that stood out to me, and because I wasn't really on the fence anymore because I'd already attempted this way of life a few times before. Sure. But when I actually saw people like you and a couple of others, the way that you spoke, you didn't just talk the talk and walk the walk. Recovery had become your essence, and it was like. It wasn't just through things that you would say. It was the way that you held yourself up and helped people. You're you're being of service. Like altruism was a part of your life. It was your everything.
You know why?
Why?
Because I had nothing left.
That's right. That's right.
God had taken everything away from me, man. I mean, and I now know that He did it for my benefit. But that's all I knew was just just to enlarge my spiritual life. My desire was to enlarge my spiritual life. And I remember I had this one prayer where I was like, I was so tired of being tired. I was like, God, I'm just willing to be nothing. I don't want to be anything. I don't want to be famous. I don't need a whole lot of money. I just need enough to pay my bill. You know what I mean? I was at that place of humility. I really experienced that, that jumping off place where I was okay with whatever God will have me do and be.
Right.
And so if that meant, being of service to somebody else, giving them a ride, picking up the phone, whatever, I was willing to do it because I learned that helps, that helps me put a deposit into the insurance of my recovery.
Absolutely. I love that.
So I get to add to it every single day. And I've heard all these wonderful people at that place that you're talking about. Yeah. I heard a lot of those old heads talking about, recovery is a gift. I get to open it up every day and, and polish it or whatever. They would just say all these wonderful metaphoric things. And I'd be like, yeah, because I love words. I'm a wordsmith. I mean, I'm a comedian, so I love words. So when people would put certain words together, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write that down, and it would just keep me on fire. Now, I'm not going to lie. There were times, in this area that we live in, it was nice to see people in recovery drive nice cars and build businesses and become successful again, because I didn't know that was possible. I thought I was just going to be, sentenced to this boring ass life, drinking out of styrofoam cups and holding hands with weirdos. Yeah, I really did. I just like, well, but here's the thing. That was better than where the hell that I was in, And so I thought, well, if that's what it's going to be, that's where it's going to be. And so then I saw people, pushing Maseratis and, purple BMWs. I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. I want all the bells and whistles. So, and I am living the life of bells and whistles today.
You certainly are. And I tell you, like when I first saw you, I was intimidated because my friend knew you and he introduced me to you. And I thought, she's a goddess. I mean, just everything about her is perfect. Yeah, but I was like, I don't even know how to talk around her, right?
Oh my
God. But then over a period of time, we developed a friendship that I'll say this, like You're one of my best friends. We really are. We've been through thick and thin together. You know a lot of stuff about me, and I know some things about you. And through the pandemic, like we kicked it together. We hung out together. We talked about a lot of things, right? We had a lot of ideas about a lot of things, you know.
And we didn't judge each other over those ideas.
We did not judge each other over those things, you know, and it's always been really good. I got to say, obviously, it was a tough year for a lot of people, and I know at the time you've been doing stand up comedy still, like for years now.
Well, yeah, I was doing stand up for Carnival Cruise Lines before the shutdown, and but I want to just comment on what you just said real quick. Isn't it nice that, or should I ask a question? Isn't it nice that we can disagree and still be friends?
Yes.
Isn't that a concept? Isn't that an odd novelty?
That's right. That's right.
What a novel idea, for us to still, because,
it's true, because, I lost some friends during pandemic.
So did I. Yeah. So did I. And
because we didn't agree on everything.
I know. And here, so that's why I'm really grateful that, the real ones stood still and stood tall, right. And we're still standing, and it's still, and we're better friends than ever.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting that you said that, because it's like, yeah, this year has really sort of exposed that,
right.
And but it's really magnified how important my recovery is, and it made me so grateful that I had tools to go through and walk and navigate those waters, because I saw a lot of people fall apart and really, lose their damn minds over like
what's gonna
happen and should I wear a mask and why are you wearing and all that. It's like, you know what, one day at a time I get a chance to just live life on life's terms. I don't have to struggle.
That's right, you don't. And is Bully TV still happening?
No.
What is it changing?
So I have a talk show that I'm actually moving to a studio. Okay. So I'm not talking about it just yet because it's still like the ink's not dry yet. Okay. The ink's not dry yet, but yeah. And I'm also working on a writing project that I'm really, really excited about. It's something that's very close to my heart. It's actually loosely based on a friend's life that she recently experienced. So I'm working on that, and she has given me the privilege of being able to write it and hopefully star in it as her.
I love that.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, and there's a lot of other really cool things coming up too. So we'll see.
Awesome. Well, is there anything you want to say anymore before we sign off?
I am just really blessed to have you as a friend. I love you. You know that. I simply do adore everything about you, and all that you do. I can't believe you're so. I don't even know. I don't understand how you're this busy and still have time for friends like me, but I appreciate you for that, and I'm just so honored to be a member of this community, though, because I feel like we have the secret sauce,
we do.
And I also wanted to talk about Naomi Osaka, who just recently she just bowed out of the French Open. I'm a big tennis fan, and a lot of my friends know I love me some tennis. So, and she just quit the French Open because, she wanted to go and take care of some mental health issues. And what people don't realize about alcoholism and addiction is it is also a mental defect. It is also a mental health issue.
Right.
And I would like for people that don't know about who we are and what we do, because I'm unapologetically proud to be a member of the recovery community. I'd rather be on this side of the ground than the other side. But if you don't know anything, if you are ignorant to what addiction is and alcoholism is, do your research before you pass judgment.
Kill the stigma.
Yeah, because, just to say, I don't understand why they just can't stop drinking. It's not.
It's not that easy.
It's as serious as diabetes and cancer, and treat people with addiction as you would a cancer patient, because that's how serious and how grave of an illness it is. But we can recover, and we do recover.
That's right,
and there are millions of us who are thriving every single day, one day at a time, as a result of the help of God and each other.
That's right. Transforming and living the better part of a second life.
We have been restored.
That's right. To sanity.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I love you, and thank you for coming out
Thank
today.
you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And we're going to sign off. Love you.